Oh, I think I'm recording. Yep. Didn't make a beat though. Anyway. Okay. So I'm going to talk about free will, but I'm not sure. We'll see if we make enough bits out of this video to make a free will video, but I'm thinking more in terms of the anti-words to these words. Like, these words aren't any good, like freedom, justice, the concept of forward or productive human behavior, good. The idea that there is no real good, there's just degrees of bad. There's doing things the wrong way, exquisitely, the perfectly wrong way, with very little wrongness in it, and that's good. That there, all these notions, these conventional pop culture notions of reality, are nonsense words. There's no freedom without the potential of a restraint, and it's the elimination of the restraint or the prevention of the restraint that is the freedom, provides the freedom. But there is nothing without the negative first, justice. Again, there's nothing without the potential for the crime, without the prevention of the crime. There can be nothing called justice. So it's always this negative that needs to exist first. So it sort of goes back to my argument that the universe itself doesn't need anything. We have to create the need first. We have to create the problem, the mess, before we can show up to fix it. That this is all that the brain is for, is fixing. So the only use intelligence has is you have to make a problem for it to solve. It resolves. It doesn't create a good. It undoes a bad. It prevents a bad. So again, we're back to that argument. Some people take this to an extreme, so that brings up the modern mystic, and they're nihilist types, where I don't even know quite exactly how they do that, but I mean this whole negation of what is a conventional notion, and they negate the very existence of harm. I still don't know how they do it. I still can't understand how it's undone beyond the fact that they just say go away. I don't see how they undo it, how they unmake it, how they uncreate it. But they have claimed to successfully accomplish that task. But I don't see the white space here that provides for this recontextualization of the reality into something that nothing to see here, nothing to worry about. No harm done, no real harm done. It's all an image of harm, like a video game. Like this game has no reality, and so a video game has double no reality, right? Because we already concede that the characters in a video game are not real stakeholders, and somehow they've made us not real stakeholders, and so that would make a video game a double nothing. So that might be a problematic in terms of explaining how we can be nothing when relative to a video game we're obviously something. It's kind of hard to undo that one, I think. It's these layers of the matrix, inside the matrix, infinite regression, all that kind of problem created there. So anyway, it seems like those are two different subjects, so I won't try to blend them and stick more with this idea, unfortunately, that these negative forces are the real forces, and that there are no real positive forces. There's just elimination of negative. You have justice when you prevent the crime. That's the best justice, is prevention. And that could get back to the nataling argument that the best solution to the problem of life is not to make one, not to cause it, not to create it, not to make it, because if it's done as best it can do, it will not make not leave more mess behind. And certainly in the context of this, I've said this before, but it's worth repeating. The only way we can really make ourselves productive in this world is to clean up the messes made by other people, made by nature itself even. You rescue poor kitty, a little kitty on a rock, let's say here. I could rescue it, save it harm, suffering, anguish, worry, fret, and I have done some good. And I could go through my life trying to do those good things, create a nice little basket of prevented harm, and got through my life being productive. Even if I personally experienced some harms and ended up on a rock now and then myself, fretting and worrying, the unbalance I would have surely profited. The world would have profited from my existence because I prevented more of that stuff than I personally experienced or personally caused. So this is an argument that the certain group of people don't like this basic mathematics to existence. That there's these negative conditions that exist, and you gain positive performance points, productivity in your life by eliminating these threats, these nasty bits, preventing them, mitigating against them, reducing them. And that's all the game we have. There's no other way to earn points is than to resolve the problems, the negatives of existence. And that's where I argue that the mechanism of our desire is another one of these. It's not a positive force as much as we feel it as a positive force. It's really the fact that it's creating the negative of need. It's making where we are not good enough and compelling us to move or migrate or to resolve the ungood enoughness, the boredom or tedium or undoneness or just the hunger. And that hunger, as much as we sense it as an attraction, it's really made out of a very negative, very destroying of the current, the present, what you have situation. So, and this kind of happens to us. When we do resolve a problem, you win the lottery, and somehow you wake up the next day and still have problems. Somehow they show up. No matter where you run, you can't hide. From these compulsions, these ambitions. As you resolve the bigger problems in your environment, the ones that are just glaring, your eyesight will start seeing the detail. So, once you get the water to the right level, then you'll start worrying about how much algae's in it, or how uneven the rocks are, or some other detail will consume your interest and compel you to do something to resolve it. So that's not good. It's just no good news here in terms of what our psychology is doing, how we're being played, by the molecule, which gets back to the free will argument. I guess it's almost so impossible a notion for me to perceive as having any validity. It gets hard to argue it to a point. It seems like there's no options to see it any other way than how you're controlled by experience, by nature. Provides you with a physical body of limitations and nuance. Your life experience beats on that a little, and it creates your psychology. That's well documented, how events of trauma and nuance, end up having you all kinds of fucked up echoes in your psychology based on those events of how comfortable you were or uncomfortable you were in situations, and how that conformed and created your taste in the world, what you find pleasurable and repulsive. And then when you get to your thinking mind, it's even more obvious how important. How you doing? Experiences, because your experiences will become. It's critical to know the mathematics. You have to understand the relationships and the formulas and all of this information that has to come in for you to perform the function. So you have to know how to do it. You have to have experience doing it. You can certainly figure things out as you go. I've done a lot of that in my life where, somebody just throws the problem in front of me and I try to figure out how to do it. And you can do that, but understand that that's another process that requires your creativity requires. It has to be fertilized by mechanical senses, by knowledge that's built into just how you lived your life, your acquired understanding of the physics and how much torque you can put on something or some other feel to it. So even if you're living by feeling or intuition, that is all developed through your experience. It's all refined and confined. Refined and confined. So that's again another reason to understand how this subject is not about freedom. Freedom does, knowledge does confine. So the will, freedom, is not a good will, a free or liberated will. It's not a refined will, and because a refined will is going to be a confined will. It's going to be a will that has filtered out the garbage and the nonsense and the bullshit. It isn't allowed to be poorly motivated or inefficiently or accept inefficiency in its behavior. So the will is going to be incredibly restrained and limited. So that's the irony of I've said this before, so no more redundancy. But the better your will, the less free it is. The better you are as a person, the less free your will can be. Because the truth will own you. The truth is not liberating. The truth is confining. It's just obvious. So the more consistent your will is with the facts of reality, the less free to tread in random directions or sloppy directions or reckless directions it will be. So again, I'm just saying the theme here is just that our language really sucks. It's not something I really realized until recently, just how bad it really is. Everything has such a prejudice and a taint built into it. It's got all this pro-life, pro-individual, pro-selfish, all these negative things, these negative attributes of our existence have been proarized by language, because the language has chosen to create a false understanding of what really is creating the space. The negatives are creating what we're calling the positives. The negatives own the territory. They're the thing with the pigment and the weight. They're the real paint on the canvas. And instead, the human race has chosen to find the little white bits of canvas and call that the art. And so they've got it backwards. The construct, they have it inverted because they're seeking rationalizations and justifications for themselves rather than the truth. I forgot my can of spray paint. Well, let's get some. And the car I have to work on isn't here. Damn. Anyway, until next time. And such and so forth. And whatnot. Yes. It's a lovely sunny day, but not quite as warm. Well, it's getting there.